All right, hi everyone, it's Dr. Christina here, and today we're going to be talking with Arthur about his amazing transformation on our Metabolic Reset and Lifestyle program. And I'm really excited for Arthur to share with you kind of his experience and his whys for being here. Thank you, Arthur, for coming.
My pleasure.
So tell me a little bit about what life was like before you had come in and worked with us with this Metabolic Reset program.
For sure. I've always been a bit of a bigger guy. However, I have always interplayed that with being slightly athletic and being physically active. But I've been a bigger guy, truth be told, for a long time. And in the months leading up to me deciding to go through this, I had some personal challenges at home. I ended up being a caregiver, and that derailed some of my attention. And I ended up doing when I spoke, what I ended up calling emotional grazing, where in order to cope with some of the emotional challenges that I was going with, I kind of allowed myself to just be a little bit too free with some of the foods that I was eating. Well, I got to a point in around September, October, where I was coming to visit you for another one of your services, which was chiropractic services. I got to a point where I was like, I'm not feeling the greatest. I'm starting to feel pretty heavy. When I kept standing on my scale at home, even though the scale at home I would always say it's broken, it wasn't really broken. I was getting that big. And so, when I was going through your website and I saw that there was a metabolic reset plan, I started to percolate some questions to you about what it was about, what it would take, so on and so forth. And I got to the point around Halloween, October of last year, where I started feeling extremely heavy. And even walking a small distance became a particular challenge. I knew I had to make a change for myself, and that's when I ended up with metabolic reset.
Yeah, no, I remember that, and I was so excited because we've known each other for quite a while, and I was really excited for you to just get started. And so now that you've gone through your rounds of MRP, and tell me how life has changed for you. What's different for you?
Well, I'm lighter.
So do you want to share how much weight you lost? Or?
Sure. So in the 42-day program, I lost 40 pounds on those. Yeah, fantastic results, kind of dream results. When you're in your first couple of days, when you start losing a pound or a pound and a half a day, or for those who aren't familiar with conversion, half a kilo a day, you start to get really excited. But in the back of your mind, you say, this probably won't last the whole way through. And so you have this sort of imaginary goal, what if it did? And for me, it did. And I did end up losing 40 pounds in 42 days of the diet. And really, it's 40 pounds in 40 days, because the first couple of days are a little bit different, as I'm sure people will learn. How is life, to specifically answer the question, how is life different? Well, I'm lighter, and I have much different eating habits, and more specifically, the cravings are much different. So one of the conversations that you and I had in one of my first one-on-one sessions was that when I was getting towards the end and I made the decision, I found that as I reviewed my days at the end of each day, which I tend to do, I found that I was having 4 or 5 treats per day. And so then you and I had a conversation about what defines a treat, and why was I seeking out treats, and what was the purpose behind that. And what I realized is there was just too much excuse making, too much, as I ended up calling it, emotional grazing. And so my desire to eat foods has changed as a product of the reset. And very specifically, what I'm referring to is where I might have been craving starchier foods or breads, I'm now craving vegetables and things that are more nourishing for the body. Not to say that the ongoing joke that I had with you is when I finish the diet, I want to have a pizza with croissants as toppings and chocolate bars as a crust, right? It was just a joke. But my desire for that nice, sweet, flavorful pastry, it was there for a while until it fell off. And even though I accept that enjoying certain foods, it has a certain joie de vivre. In life, there is also that's a true treat, like a once a month thing, or really taken as a treat, not 4 or 5 croissants in a day, sort of thing. So again, going back to how things changed, I'm lighter, and the foods that I'm choosing to eat are much more nourishing and fulfilling for my body.
Yeah, and one of our goals here with this metabolic and lifestyle reset is really to uncover some of the emotional drivers of why we're eating sometimes. And we have been speaking about this a lot, and I wondered if you'd share a little bit about what you were able to learn about yourself and how that shifted to now.
From the emotional drivers perspective.
Yeah.
So, when we go through different stresses in life, and those stresses can be varied. They can be interpersonal relationship stress, or they can be work stress, or they can be time management stress, or work-life balance stress. We unconsciously will seek to get little dopamine hits and or feel satisfied in some way, shape, or form. We're bombarded from multiple sides with all different kinds of messaging. Eat this sugary product, look this way, have this relationship, go on this vacation. And so it ends up being a confusing point for most people, because we're influenced from so many different directions. Until you make that firm decision for yourself, and only for yourself, that I want to eat for myself, not because I'm stressed out, or because my spouse bothered me, or because my workplace inundated me with too much stress. And very typically, and to be very, very transparent about myself and what I do, I'm in hospitality. I end up working quite late, often till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So my opportunity to eat outside of good parameters is high. My personal life stresses and emotional traumas that I've gone through are high. So there were always little reasons why I would choose to have a piece of ice cream, and or have a croissant, and or grab a chocolate bar. And all of the miniature justifications we can make in every single moment, ultimately they aggregate out, right? And they end up taking you in a particular lifestyle. And that's where the words emotional grazing came from. Because, what I found for myself is I ended up grazing on food from emotional perspectives. And again, a lot of that had to do with social influence, work-life stress, emotional trauma. What I realized very quickly when I started the diet is I was hit by several walls, and those walls were scary, and there were several nights where I was literally crying. I was having such a difficult time with some of the challenges, and predominantly, to be very transparent here, that's kicking a sugar habit. There's real addiction that happens there, and only through having a really clear vision and focus as to why I was doing it, and through having support, so a coach, which is what the program is, was I able to face those challenges and move through them. That didn't last forever, and I knew they wouldn't last forever. When I was in the midst of them, I was able to take a step back and understand that it was just something that I was going through momentarily. But those are real emotional backpacks. They were real emotional challenges that had to be crossed. And if I didn't cross them then, I wouldn't be where I'm at now, which is ready to take on another round of the diet to further my journey towards my goals. And I think understanding that you're going to have those emotional challenges as you go into any kind of lifestyle change, that's really, really important. The fortitude to go through them is really important. You have to know that you're going to face some of those challenges. It's not just going to be, no problem.
Right.
That anytime you want to make a change, you're going to move yourself out of a comfort zone. If you're not experiencing a certain amount of pain, you're going out of a comfort zone. I ask if you're actually moving out of a comfort zone.
Well, with growth, there usually comes some stumbling blocks. So, before you started the program, what was your main hesitation? Were you hesitant when we talked about it? And what maybe put your fears to rest?
So, you're talking about food, and so I'm going to be brutally honest about some of this stuff. So, main hesitation, I could probably do this myself, right? Like that's the thought that goes through everyone's minds. Yeah, I've done some other weight loss programs in the past. I'm relatively well researched.
Lots of information.
I have tons of information. I've the same alma mater as you have. I know how to do my own research. Did I really need to go through another program? That was the first one, and the second one was the financial portion. So I'll directly address each one. Despite the fact that I'm a well-learned person, one of the most important things we're going through any sort of change is that you have to be able to lean on a coach. You have to be able to lean on someone that has a proven methodology, has a proven process, that's somebody that you can lean towards and say, hey, I've tried X, Y, and Z. What's your thoughts on this? Or what's your thoughts on that? And you and I have actually been speaking about functional medicine for the better part of over 3 years, maybe even longer than that. And, I've watched you go through so many seminars and do so much learning about it. I definitely wanted to explore this with yourself because you've really invested yourself into this program first. So understanding that a coach would be beyond beneficial, but necessary to help you through it, that was first. Most of us have a little lie is that we can do it ourselves. If you could do it yourself, then you probably would have done it, right?
Absolutely.
And to move yourself out of your comfort zone, you need somebody to help you with that most of the time. What I like to say is that when we want to make a 180-degree turn, it's very hard to do a 180-degree turn in one turn, right? It's extremely hard. But everybody can do 180 one-degree turns. And when you have a coach beside you, and that coach is helping you with each one of those one-degree turns, that ends up being extremely beneficial. Second is the financial one. When I saw the initial price tag, given that I'm a caregiver, that I had a lot of stressors about money already, I felt immediate hesitation. And as I got to that Halloween portion time, and I said to myself, you can invest this money into yourself instead of constantly investing into other people, and give yourself something back. And it wasn't that it wasn't that it's so high that it was like an indenture need for the rest of my life or something like that. It was just a price tag that, I was like, I got so many other things I got to deal with. I want to very directly address a couple things. First, put that on the shelf. And personal investment is always a worthwhile investment. First and foremost. Secondly, what you end up investing in the program, if you're really truthful and honest about it, you end up saving in terms of ongoing food costs. Because what the program is going to teach you how to do is how to very properly manage your intake. And that will go to your grocery bill, and that will go to your eating out bill and your food and entertainment bill. And if you're really honest about it, you're just ending up evening out and then winning in the end. Because
huge wins.
Because in the end, because you've aligned yourself to eat nourishing food, and the only way to really do that is through personal preparation. You're not going to get this kind of preparation unless you have like a personal chef. It ends up winning out in the end. So, although the financial one was a hesitation at first, in the long run, it ended up being a win because like the amount of money that wasn't being spent going out quickly, very quickly, ended up catching up to whatever I needed.
What one of my mentors likes to say, either something's expensive or it's valuable. And if it's valuable, then you can't put a price tag on it. Because at this point, I feel like you've changed the trajectory of your health so enormously that you can say these things and look back and feel extremely proud. I think that I have all the questions asked. Is there anything else that you want to add? Like anything that you would say to your best friend if they were thinking about?
I recommend my cousin,
right?
Who's sort of like my twin, to join on the program. So I've become a vocal advocate for metabolic reset. I do want to say that at a certain point, everybody will encounter a decision time. And that will be stick to it or cheat on it. And when I went through this plan, I did it with 0 cheats. It wasn't that I didn't have the opportunity. And what I mean by cheats is when it said eat only this, I ate that. And when it said only this, I ate only that. And there's no deviation outside. I did find a bridger that I'm sure that you'll discuss with the clients as we go forward that helped me during certain points. But more poignantly, the point that I'm trying to make is at every situation, everyone's opportunity to go through the plan, they're going to encounter a moment where they have to make a choice. And what I can truthfully say is choose yourself. Choose yourself before you choose anything else. And the reason why I say that is because even though there might be that momentary dopamine hit of sneaking in something or having something small that may not even be reflected in the weight, the personal validation you'll have by going through the program and the results that you'll see far outweigh any kind of small momentary hits. And the second thing I want to mention is I want to just quickly touch back to the emotional challenge of some of the things, and you and I were just speaking moments ago about this. We spent the majority of our lives, for some people 20, 30, 40, even 50 years, going through repeated patterns of eating behaviors. And those repeated patterns, they're linked to very strong hormonal responses, they're linked to very strong behavioral patterns. When you make this choice to go on this metabolic reset diet, you're going to be challenging some of those pattern behaviors. You're going to be challenging some of those very nice, warm, hormonal responses that you're used to getting. You got to know that way. Because if your eyes are wide open towards that, and you accept the fact that you're going to face a challenge here and there, it's just really here and there. I would say a solid 75-80% of the diet was really very easy. It was not this arduous climb up a mountain that it might feel like. Even I would stretch that out to say 90%. Really, you have to be strong in your very first 2 weeks, and then things get really easy. You have to know that you're going to face some of those challenges right up front, and you have to be willing to ask for help. You have to be willing to lean towards your coach, ask your coach, hey, I'm really struggling with this. What do I do? You have to be very patient with yourself. And a certain amount of taking on this diet is a reflection of you giving yourself self-love. And then sort of very, very fair, mushy kind of way. When you give yourself self-love, you're very accepting of the fact that you're allowed to have negative emotions, you're allowed to face challenges, and you're allowed to give yourself encouragement to get through those challenges. Because the vision of your desire yourself is much, much greater than any kind of momentary reward you might get from sneaking in candy or a croissant or something like that. So, having that preparation beforehand, knowing that you're going to face some of those challenges, is extremely important. And when you're in those midst of those challenges, it's extremely important to know that you've got a coaching or a team that you're part of the group, and to be able to ask for help.
Well, I am so excited for you. I'm excited to do the next round. And I thank you for sharing all that information. I'm sure that's really helpful for people.